Hello, so welcome to another reading vlog. It's already Thursday, so I'm starting this later than I wanted to, but I don't think it really matters. And also, I don't really know what I'm reading at the moment. I have started a couple of things, but I've also just confirmed that I will be starting a new job next week. I'm not actually sure which day because they want me to start on Monday, but also I said, can you sort out all the accounts by Monday? Because there's no point me starting if I can't actually log on and do anything because I'm working from home, right? And he was like, maybe you won't be able to start on Monday. So I've left it to him to sort out all the accounts. And maybe I'll start on Monday, but if it's not quite ready, I'll start on Tuesday or Wednesday. We're just going to see what happens. For me, it doesn't really matter, but I think they want to get me in as soon as possible. I kind of just want to keep having holidays and doing my own shit. But also, it makes a lot of financial sense to do a bit more work, and this particular job is some interesting problems to solve. It's some people that I don't mind working with. I've worked with them before, so it makes sense, but I'm not entirely happy about it. But I'm sure it'll be fine once I get into it. Anyway, I have started a couple of books. The first thing that I started was what is it called? Son of the Shadows, I think, by Juliet Marillier. So this is a long book. I think it's like 600 pages, but also I have the ebook, and the ebook is like 1,300 and something pages because it's like ebook pages. So that's making it feel a little bit longer. Also, I'm just not good at reading ebooks, like having my phone in my hand, because I'm reading it on my phone because that's where it's like a library ebook. So I have to read it on my phone, and it's just holding a distraction in my hand while I try to focus on reading is not helpful. As well, Juliet Marillier does tend to have quite a slow writing style. I remember the first book I read of hers, Daughter of the Forest, which is the first book in the Seven Waters series, and this is the second book in the Seven Waters series. I remember the first chapter being 40 pages and me being like, why is this never getting to the point? However, I did eventually end up loving Daughter of the Forest, and so I really wanted to continue this series. In this one, we're following the children of our main character from the first book. And at the moment, it's just kind of like they're living their life. It's like set in, I don't know what kind of times, but the Irish people have basically kind of are hiding away from the Britons. I think it's like the Celtics and the Britons. You know, my knowledge of history in that area, not that great. But anyway, their family is kind of living. Things are okay. But she's kind of getting this hint that something's going wrong, and maybe the fair folk are going to start interfering with her family like they did with her mother back in the day. So we haven't really got much more than that. I think I'm about 10% of the way in so far, but it's, as I said, the slow style. It's kind of just getting used to the family, and I assume, like the first book, just getting you to know the family so that you'll be devastated when everything goes wrong. But it's a long book, and I'm not sure if I can finish it before I need to start work again. And my plan is, when I go back to work, to read like some really easy books, because I know my brain will not be up for anything difficult when I'm also trying to absorb a whole new role. So I don't know. I'm going to keep reading that, but I don't know if I'll finish it or not. Hopefully I can. I do, of course, also have an audiobook that I want to be reading, and that is Project Hail Mary by Weir. I haven't quite started this yet because I'm also finishing off the audiobook for the 7th book in the Skullduggery Pleasant series. I don't want to talk too much about that one though, because I feel like I've been reading that series for ages and I don't know that I have anything new to say about it, except that, like this one, Kingdom of the Wicked, I'm not minding it. It's keeping me more engaged than some of the other books in the series. I think the plot is a little bit more interesting. Maybe I should talk about it. Basically, a bunch of mortals have started getting magical powers, even though they've been trying to keep magic a secret from the general population. We've also got this criminal from like 30 years ago that's very powerful, and we're finding out a little bit about him, because what does this series need but more bad guys? Anyway, I'm going to go for a run just after this, so hopefully I can finish that off, and then I'll be able to start Project Hail Mary tomorrow. I do also have an unconference that I signed up for tomorrow, so that's going to take up a lot of my day tomorrow. And then probably in the weekend I'll want to spend some time with Jace before I'm back in the working world. So I don't know when I think I'm going to have time to read any of these books, but we'll see what we can do. I do also have another book. So I have this book, Ruth Rendell Collected Stories. So it's a short story anthology written by Ruth Rendell. I don't know anything about Ruth Rendell, and I had this on my June TBR and I hadn't gotten to it, and I thought maybe I won't, and I just kept wanting to put it off, but I actually made myself read the first story, and I was very surprised that I really liked it. basically a story about this young boy who'd gone missing when he was younger, but he doesn't really have any memories of it. And just the writing style and the way it talks about his mother acting like she knows everything about what's happening was a really interesting way of telling the story. But then as well, it kind of comes full circle with him doing some things when he's an adult that kind of parallel with him as a child. I almost thought it was going to get fantastical, but I didn't expect that these were the kind of stories that would have that. I expect these to be kind of like crime mystery stories. But that first story was a little bit stranger than I was expecting. So I might try and read a few more of these around the place this weekend as well. Again, when do I think I've got time to do any of this? I don't know. But maybe time will be my friend over the next few days. It isn't usually, but maybe it'll be nice to me because I'm going back to work soon. Probably not. Anyway, let's see what happens. Okay, hello. I just told Jace that I'm leaving soon, so we better be quick about this. But I wanted to update you on my reading. It's kind of weird because I don't have any physical books at the moment because I'm reading everything on my phone. But anyway, firstly, I finished off Kingdom of the Wicked, and I have to say, this was one of my favorite ones. There was some like multi-dimensional stuff, and the plot, even though sometimes in the action I got a bit bored, mostly there was plot woven in through the whole thing, and so I was much more interested and like engaged, and like it wasn't always clear who was going to survive, and there was like, I don't know, like a reasonable amount of danger but not too over the top, even though we basically had all these people with like crazy magical abilities. But also, right at the end, the thing that I've been waiting to happen for multiple books now actually happened, and it was darker than I thought it was going to be, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in the next book with that, because that could go bad really quickly, and that's what I want. So I'm excited about that, even though in some ways it does introduce another bad guy, but it's a bad guy I can keep track of. And then I did start Project Hail Mary. I think I've listened to about an hour of it so far, so not very much. Basically, we've got this guy and he's woken up in this room, and this robot has him all attached to wires and won't let him out until he answers a basic maths question. And then he's basically just trying to work out why he's in this weird room and has no real memories of who he is, but he keeps getting little glimpses of memories. One thing that is annoying me, so he's spending a whole bunch of time trying to work out the gravity in the room because he's concerned that he's not on Earth. Pretty sure he's not on Earth. But like, the robot keeps asking him his name, and he made one like educated guess. He guessed John. He was like, I'm a white guy. It could be John. And then since then he's just given like made up rubbish answers. And I'm like, dude, the first time you answered a question right, you got some more freedom. So like, shouldn't you be at least trying to make more of an effort to guess your name in the hope that then this computer voice will give you more freedom? Maybe, because I don't think I care that much about working out what the gravity is. But anyway, it's okay. It's written in a fun way. I'm a little bit concerned that the sense of humor is going to annoy me because even though I really enjoyed The Martian, I will admit sometimes the sense of humor was a bit annoying to me. And I did watch a video yesterday where Jess Owens was recommending this book to her enemies. So that doesn't sound great. But anyway, I know some people love this book, so we will listen to it while I drive around this weekend. The other thing I have been reading is, what's it called? Son of the Shadows. This one, I haven't gotten much further, but what has happened is there's been an illicit romance. The uncles are very upset about it, and I'm thinking it's something to do with incest. I'm kind of remembering now that there was this other brother, like half-brother from the first book, and I think it's going to be related to that. Anyway, the uncles are very upset about what's happened. But it's not involving our main character. She's still more kind of observing everything going wrong for everyone else. But I will keep reading that. The one good thing about reading a book on my phone is it will just always be with me, so I can read it at any time when I have time. But to be honest, what I'm really hoping to do when I go on CJS is finish off the last season of Dark and maybe finally understand all the connections, or at least be able to start putting it together. So that will be fun. But anyway, I'm supposed to have already left, so I better go. Hello. So it's Monday morning now, and I'm trying to be productive and get all my personal stuff done before I'm back at work. Possibly in a couple of days, although I haven't heard anything to confirm that. So we'll see what actually happens. But I did want to update you on things from the weekends. Firstly, we finished off Dark and I really liked it. I will say the end got a little bit heavy and like these monologue explanations that I don't feel like really explain things. And I feel like after we finished watching the show, I sat down with the family tree for a bit and like I think I understand things better after thinking about it. But also there's definitely some things I don't feel like were wrapped up. I'm probably going to do some research to see if other people have theories about them, maybe rewatch the show at some point to try and pick up on clues that I missed. Which, I mean, I guess it's cool that it's like interesting enough that you could watch it again and still feel like you're getting new information. But the ending, I just feel like it could have been a little bit clearer about how things worked. But it was kind of trying very hard to be epic and mysterious. But still, overall, I love that show. I love all the twistiness. I loved sitting down with the family tree and trying to work it all out. So I do definitely still recommend that show if you're ready for something like mentally taxing and very twisty. As well, I have been listening to Project Hail Mary and I think I'm a little bit past halfway. It's kind of weird because I feel like it's Moorish. Like I just want to keep listening to it and hearing what's going to happen next in a very similar way to how I felt with The Martian. But like, I'm also not sure if I actually really like it. Like, the main character is very white male, kind of annoyingly, I don't know what it is. He's slightly annoying, but he's kind of just a nice guy. He's fine. But he spends a lot of time trying to work out things and I'm like, is that really the most important thing right now? So whereas in The Martian, it was very clear like he was trying to solve these problems related to his survival, some of the like science discovery stuff in Project Hail Mary is less obviously related to what's happening. As well, like I don't mind the stuff that's happening out in space. I find that stuff quite interesting, even though possibly what's happening is very unlikely, but like it's still interesting. There's some parts that made me very sad. Like there's another character that you can't talk about because of spoilers, but that character, some of the things just made me like, oh, poor baby. But then he's also having these memories of things that happened on Earth and he's kind of like remembering things in little bursts. I don't really like when stories do that, like conveniently have characters remember things as they go. Because it all just feels, like I said, very convenient rather than realistic, where you probably wouldn't remember the things you needed at the time that you needed them, or you would just remember everything. But anyway, there's that memory thing that's kind of annoying me. And like, I just don't think that the way they're approaching this problem always makes sense. Like right in the beginning, he was the only person looking at these things. Again, I'm trying to avoid spoiling things. There was a kind of a justification for it, and I don't think that justification fully explained it. Like there was no reason why he couldn't have other people on a video call at least. And the idea that this woman would just be able to go around and like decide everything and people would agree, again, doesn't seem really likely to me. So I don't think I'm really enjoying his memories and the bits you're getting from what happens in the real world, but I am enjoying what's happening in space and it's kind of going backwards and forwards between them. But still, as I said, it's got that Moorish quality, so I can't help but keep wanting to read it. And that is actually getting in the way today when I'm trying to be productive, because I keep saying, I'll go and do something housework as a break, and then I start listening to the audiobook, and then I forget to go back to the other thing I was supposed to be doing. So I imagine that it won't be long till I finish Project Hail Mary. I'm not quite sure that we're going to make the same progress with Son of the Shadows, because I haven't read any more of that yet. But I will try to make some more progress with that later today, if I can get all my other stuff done.
Hello, so it is my last day before I have to go back to work. It's actually really horrible and rainy, which sort of feels appropriate for my last day. It would be nice if it was sunny, but do you ever wonder if your mental state affects the weather? Even though I'm sure work won't be that bad, but like, this morning I slept in because I stayed up too late last night finishing Project Hail Mary, and I was able to sleep in this morning to make up for it, but once I'm working again, I won't have that option anymore. Oh, it's so sad. But anyway, I'm at the mall. I bought some hair dye to refresh this before I have to be in front of people and have them seeing me, since my roots have been growing out and the bottom is not the same color as the top. So we'll try and see if we can fix that today. And I just want to try and like get all my shit together to be ready for tomorrow. But let me catch you up on my reading. So last night, honestly, I was a couple of hours from the end of Project Hail Mary and I was like, no, you need to go to bed. I went to bed. I couldn't sleep. So eventually I just put Project Hail Mary on and finished it off, because some things happened in those last couple of hours that were very dramatic and very emotional, and I kind of, once you start listening to it, it's very hard to stop. And like emotionally, I think the end of the book was the strongest, but I still definitely feel like there's parts of that story that didn't make sense. Like probably the science makes sense, but some of the like social side of things, the way people were interacting with each other, especially back on Earth, I think the stuff in space kind of made sense, although it's so hard to talk about without spoilers, but he kind of learns to do something very quickly that just wouldn't be possible no matter how smart you are, so that's not realistic. And just like, it's trying to make out like it's very realistic, but then it's not, so sometimes that annoyed me. But still, like, the emotional journey that the story went on was one that I really enjoyed. So I really have mixed feelings about it. Another thing that I forgot to say last time is there is a part where there is a character, and in the book it describes them as having a thick New Zealand accent, and the audiobook narrator did an Australian accent. And it's just not right. And I know some people will be like, oh, close enough. But honestly, it's like someone doing like a Texan drawl and being like, oh, that's a Canadian accent. No, it's not. So that annoyed me a little bit. Although overall, I do think the audiobook narrator did a pretty good job. I think it's the same narrator who did the Bobaverse books, which I think the Bobaverse books are very similar in style in terms of being very scientific with their approach to things. So if you like Andy Weir stuff, you might want to try the Bobaverse books if you haven't read them. Oh, this guy's getting in the car right next to me. That's awkward. So the other thing I've been doing is reading Son of the Shadows, and I am really enjoying it. We got to a part where something bad actually happened to the main character, and it kind of seems like in a lot of ways it's going to be the same story as the first one, where her mother was kidnapped and then ended up falling in love with her captor. I feel like sort of the same thing is happening, but I'm always a fan of a well-written enemies to lovers type story, and I do think it's quite a good setup. So I'm enjoying that and all these scary men that we're meeting and kind of learning all their stories. But the problem is now I need another audiobook, and I decided to try and continue Son of the Shadows on audiobook. Normally when I change from physical to audiobook, it's because I'm struggling to get through it. This time it's not really that. It's just that I want to keep reading that story, but I've got lots to do today to get ready for work, and then I'm going to be working, and so I'm not going to be able to get through it very quick. But I will if I also read it on audiobook. So we're going to try the audiobook. One benefit of the audiobook is that I'll learn how all the names are pronounced, because there's a lot of like Irish and Gaelic names, I guess. And I looked up how to say a few of them, but there's a few others that just, it's too hard for me to remember. So the audiobook will help with that. And the audiobook narrator has kind of this nice Irish accent, so it's quite nice to listen to. As well, there's kind of an element in here, a little bit like 1001 Nights, where every night she's telling a different like legend or myth or story to these group of men, and kind of using those stories to gain their trust. And then as well, I kind of think some of these stories she's telling are going to relate into the things that are happening. So I am enjoying Son of the Shadows, and I will keep reading it. I think I'm still not very far through. Where am I up to? Oh, I changed to Audible, so no, I don't know. 6 of 22 hours. Maybe I'm like a quarter of the way through? About that. So I'm gonna go dye my hair and sort out all my shit, and I'll listen to the audiobook while I do that. And hopefully I can manage to pay attention to it while I'm doing other things. That's the problem sometimes with slower audiobooks, is that it's easier to kind of stop paying attention. Although I say that, but I often find I stop paying attention in action scenes in like the Dresden Files and the Skullduggery Pleasant books. So maybe it's not the pace that makes me stop paying attention. Maybe it's something else. Anyway, I've got lots to do today, so I better go and do it. Hello. So I dyed my hair and I made it too red. I had this idea that some people at my work might be freaked out if my hair was too purple, so I put less purple in it. But I should have probably still put a bit of pink in it, because now it's like super bright red, and the idea of this being more natural, I don't feel like that's accurate. And you might say people shouldn't care what colour my hair is, and there are definitely people at my work that would say they don't care. However, you can tell that people do care about your hair colour when they say things after you've known them for a very long time, like, wow, I was really surprised how great you are because I was a bit unsure about you when I first saw your hair colour. And you're like, oh, right. You're a weirdo who cares about hair colour and thinks hair colour should only be natural colours. So I was trying to make it a bit more natural, but I have totally failed. But never mind, they already know me. We should be good. At least I don't have my greys out, so I can pretend I'm younger than I actually am. Again, they already know me. They know how old I am. I don't know what I'm thinking, but it is nice
to have my grades covered up. As well, you might know, I'm not working today because he said to me, oh, your contract's not quite sorted out, but maybe you could still start on Wednesday as we talked about anyway. And I repeated what I said on Friday, which is like, I don't mind starting if the contract isn't quite fully sorted out. However, I will need a computer, and especially I will need some accounts because I can't really talk to people, engage in things unless I have accounts to all the different systems. And he was like, oh yeah, I told someone else to do that, but I don't know if they've done that. So we decided to wait another day while he confirms that that is all sorted out. So hopefully it'll be sorted out by tomorrow and I will be going into work tomorrow. I personally am glad to have gotten an extra day just to like finish off all the stuff that I wanted to finish off. Because yesterday I didn't quite get through everything I wanted. And like yesterday was just so rainy and freezing cold that I kind of didn't want to do anything. So yeah, I needed that extra day. The other thing that I want to update you on is that I have been listening to Son of the Shadows. Shadows? I love it. We're right at the end of the vlog and I still don't know the title of this book. Son of the Shadows. So I'm about 70% of the way through, and honestly this book has had me crying at certain points. We just have the slow burn enemies to lovers type romance going on, but because of circumstances they can't be together. There's also kind of like these disputes going on that mean some parts of the world are very brutal and some of our main characters' family are in situations that they wouldn't like to be in, and she cares so much for her family, so anything bad that's happening to her family impacts her so much. And it's just like, it's such a slow book and like kind of very calmly stepping you through what's happening, but at the same time I just feel very emotional about it, and I'm just loving the romance. Like every time she talks about this guy, I'm just in love. I'll be honest, I'm thinking about my guy every time she talks about her guy. It's just a really lovely book and I'm enjoying it a lot, and I'm also really liking all the little stories we're getting of these different, I guess, myths. I guess they're like Celtic myths and legends. I'm really enjoying those and how they fit into the story. I love how this family interact with each other, even though they do also have their own things and their own secrets that cause a lot of trouble. And I'm just really interested to see how the rest of the story is going to go. But also, I can see kind of some of the seeds for the bigger series starting to form. So I don't feel like everything will be wrapped up in this book. But we'll see. Anyway, I am, while I continue to get myself ready for going back to work, gonna keep listening to that audiobook. I will definitely finish it today. I can't imagine I wouldn't. So once I finish that, I'll let you know my final thoughts.
Good morning. So I am business penny, ready for work. Well, kind of ready. I really wish I was still in bed, to be honest. Also, this lighting is probably terrible. Will I be able to use this footage? I don't know, but if you're seeing it, then I guess I did. Also, it's probably really noisy because there's all sorts of cars driving past and music playing in the background, so who knows. Anyway, I guess as well as wrapping up my freedom, not having to work, I'm going to wrap up this vlog. I did last night finish off listening to Son of the Shadows. I really loved it. It's kind of a romance story, but a family story, but also it has just like the right amount of things going wrong and like difficulties that our characters have to work through. But also, this one really made me want to continue the series. So the first book I felt like you could almost read as a standalone, but this one I feel like has really set up for the next book. And I had a look, the next book is the children of these people, which were a significant part of this book as well, because there is this whole prophecy about a particular child that's going to lead them back to happiness or something. So since I actually enjoyed the audiobook quite a lot, I might try and pick up the audiobook for the next book in the series as well and try and read that sooner rather than later. Anyway, if you like enemies to lovers, slow burn kind of romance, a fair amount of angst, but not like overblown angst, then I think you would really like this one. It's kind of a beautiful story in a lot of ways. Just the setting is very beautiful. Wow, somebody is backing up and that's noisy and people are walking past. So anyway, do let me know if you have read any of the books that I talked about in this video, or if you're interested in reading any of them, because I'd love to talk with you about it down in the comments. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.